Do you think we're living in end times? That is the question.
Yep.
Are we?
Yep.
Well, of course we are, because what other times would we be living in?
Sure.
We're not
So-
in the beginning times.
Yeah.
We're not really in the middle times.
Yeah, let's approach that question
Yeah.
from three different angles.
Right.
So first and foremost, the obvious one, and I've said this before: every day we're a day
Yeah.
closer to the end.
Right.
Right.
So, but I think the question here is: are we close to the end?
Are we close? So yeah, we're closer than we were yesterday.
Right.
So that's
But
angle
no, like-
one. So let's keep
Okay,
going. Right.
okay, yeah.
So angle two is, the question: what did Jesus inaugurate when he was here?
Right. What did he usher in? Because there was a lot of things that had to take place, a lot of prophecies that had to be fulfilled, and Jesus just, knocked them down. He got him out of the way.
He did. So
Quickly.
we know that Jesus, when he first came onto the scene in his public ministry, launched it by saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Yeah.
So we know right away that's a clue to us something's changing here. Right? Okay, something different's going on.
Yeah. Can I ask one question? How do we know that section is trustworthy?
What do you mean? Like
So, like,
that's
the text
actually
that we
what
have.
that's actually what he said.
That's actually what he said. I'm just.
Yeah, I mean that's
This is a question for another time.
It is, and I'll give you a quick answer.
Yeah.
Right. Like all four gospels have him using that kind of language.
Yeah.
And so if you don't trust the gospels, of course you don't trust it.
Right.
But I get a kick out of people who they think they know who Jesus is, but their ideas about him are completely based on the gospel accounts. They just throw out the parts they don't like. Right. So yeah, Jesus was kind and loving and compassionate, and he loved people, and he was a great teacher. Right? All that's true, but how do you know? If you throw out the gospels, how do you know that?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Firsthand accounts.
yeah, it's a question of just do you trust the gospels, and we should cover that more another time. I think we've covered it some before, and we come back to it. It's a good question.
Yeah.
But to go back to Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is at hand, right?
Yeah.
So it's near, something new is coming in. And then after the ascension and on the day of Pentecost, Peter preaches his sermon.
Yeah.
And he quotes from the book of Joel. And from the book of Joel that he's quoting about is about this period of time called the day of the Lord. And the day of the Lord is this big period of time that has a lot going on, right? It's got the restoration of the Jewish people as a part of it, but also God's judgment on evil, a bringing in of all things. And so the day of the Lord encompasses all of that. But Peter actually says, what Joel wrote about then is happening now. So Peter seems to indicate, hey, we have entered this new period of time that is essentially the day of the Lord, which means everything that needs to happen has happened. So that goes all the way back 2,000 years ago. So this 2,000 years is a period of time. It's the day of the Lord. We talked a little bit on Sunday about the times of the Gentiles.
Yes.
We're certainly in the times of the Gentiles. Jerusalem has been trampled on for 2 millennia. But here's the third angle. And this is where I think this is why, I think we're close. I mean, as close as we've ever been, obviously. Yeah. But a couple things going on. Number one, you see what's going on in Israel. And even since 1948, when Israel became a nation, that really changed everything. And this won't be meaningful for a lot of people, but for some it will be. If you have always had the perspective of premillennial, pre-tribulation view of the end times, that has always been a little bit tricky because there's stuff in Revelation that's hard to interpret literally. Revelation's a weird book.
Yes.
And the pre-trib, premillennial position depends on a lot of that being interpreted somewhat literally.
Yeah. But is it weird in the sense of just the style it's written in, or is it weird in another way?
Well, let me give you an example. It's both, obviously. Yeah. But there are some things that it says.
Wouldn't that time that it was written been in a style that people would have recognized and... No?
Yeah, sure, but that's
okay.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, but I don't want to dive down into that. But there are parts in Revelation that are tricky. So there's these two witnesses, right? And I think this is chapter maybe 11. And there's these two witnesses that have this message. They're from God, and it says, and their message goes out to the whole world. And then there's this thing that happens between them and the Antichrist, where the Antichrist actually kills them. And it says the whole world watches it. And for forever, people have looked at that and said, well, that can't be literal, because how would that even be possible?
Yeah.
Well, look at where we are today. In the last half century, again, getting back to like 1948, in the last half century, we understand how that's possible now.
Yeah.
Something had happened on the other side of the world, and we all see it instantaneously.
Yeah.
It's live. There's a lot of those kind of things in Revelation that all of a sudden we can see them in a whole different light. That, okay, this actually could happen as it is described.
Yeah.
And so I think with that being the case, we see, the way the nations are posturing themselves. I think there's a legitimate argument that, this is the end times. I'm not saying it's my lifetime, but our lives are like a vapor.
Yeah.
So what is the 70 years of David in this grand scope of things? It's not a long time.
Yeah.
A day is like 1,000 years in the eyes of the Lord. But if you had to hold me to it, I'd say next couple centuries. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So why should we take it more seriously now than people have been saying? Like, even in the New Testament, they were talking about Jesus coming back soon. So why is it now more than ever relevant?
I don't know that it's necessarily that we should be taking it more seriously, but maybe our eyes are a little more open. And maybe now we take it more seriously, as seriously as we should have before. Because back 2,000 years ago, the disciples took it pretty seriously. But Jesus also said, when you see this stuff start to unfold, heads up, it's coming. He said, as you see these signs happen, you should be alert to that. I think we're seeing signs happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.